Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Tuesday morning. Celtic have hours, not days, hours to get a player in for the Champions League that will be Champions League ready, that will be good enough to keep someone out this first team. Someone that's had a pre-season, someone that's had a lot of game time, he's up to scratch, he's up to speed. Will it be this man? Will it be Jamie Vardy? Today's the day that we find out if Celtic will get anyone in for the Champions League qualifier playoff. When you look at the squad, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. The predicted lineup. We will do a live tonight where we'll talk about the predicted lineup. I do think that Celtic will set up a 4-2-3-1 formation the exact same way as the opposition will, who will be making that long journey to Celtic Park today. Dane Murray, will he get a game? Let's talk about the squad tonight. We'll talk about the squad a bit later in this video. When it comes to Celtic news, obviously Jamie Vardy has been linked with Celtic. He's also been linked with Napoli. We'll wait and see how that one comes out. Sean Maloney talked for a new loan deal. Let me see what this is. There's a bit of breaking news this morning, and this is the day that Celtic ultimately, if they've got any ambition to trying to get players in, and we missed this last night actually. Celtic are in talks with Inverness Cali Thistle. Remember them? They went ballistic and Celtic were atrocious. The irony it would be now that it seems that Celtic are in talks with the once mighty Inverness Cali Thistle. I still think about that game sometimes, and yeah. But anyway, the irony of the massive collapse of Inverness over the years. Celtic are looking to go into cooperation with Inverness Cali, where the Sevco went into Rafe Rovers. How dare they? Rovers. What a shambolic decision that will turn out to be. But Inverness Cali are looking to do a similar deal with Celtic. Does this mean the end of the B team structure? Because let's face it, we can all agree that the B team structure is absolutely woeful. Playing in the lower leagues has done nothing to help improve the quality of player coming through at Celtic Park. It's done nothing to keep the players that do come through want to stay at Celtic. The whole pathway manager thing by Sean Maloney, this is his deal. He needs to get this done, and Sean Maloney has been in talks. This could result in Celtic loaning out players to Inverness Cali. We'll wait and see. The Inverness Courier, the publication that broke the deal. Celtic and other clubs have approached Inverness Caledonian and Thistle about a possibility of a cooperation agreement to loan players throughout the season. Inverness have been in talks with Premiership champion Celtic regarding cooperation between the two clubs. Cali interim chief says they've held discussions with Celtic regarding loaning players between the clubs throughout the season. We're not going to get loan players for Inverness, are we? Let's face it, it's feeder club stuff, isn't it? And it's just a way for the SPFL to for the SFA, to allow feeder club system set up in Scotland. It'll be interesting to see how it works out. He also says that there's another two unnamed clubs. Don't go down that road of unnamed things, mate. That's a team from the other side of Glasgow that does that. Unnamed players and unnamed backers and unnamed, and we all know how that's worked out. Egg on their face over the years. Anyway, it enables players in the transition phase of their career between the ages of 16 and 21 who are eligible to represent Scotland national teams to join the lower league club, to be able to get a move between the parent club and increase playing time. So all our Scottish-based players, so it wouldn't be like the likes of Callum Osmond, who I think may go out on loan in the winter transfer window. We'll talk about the Champions League squad in a minute, because it's important. That squad has been locked in already. Celtic can make 2 additions today. But it'll be interesting to see the younger Scottish players that come through the system getting put out to Inverness, and then we can recall them at any time that we may need them. Will they go to the B team? Is it the death knell of the B team? A number of lower league clubs, including Elgin City, have entered cooperation agreements with Premiership teams this season. Christie confirmed that they met Celtic's professional pathway manager, Sean Maloney, who was at the club to hold talks. He said Celtic were impressed by Inverness Callie's approach to football, and they've also had talks with other clubs. He says we've been offered by 2 or 3 clubs. Maloney drove from Glasgow, and he said that they have looked at the data and the way that we play, and they want to do a deal. It's as simple as that. How do you feel about it? I think it is a bit of... Anyway, let's check out the Champions League squad for the game tomorrow night. Today's the day that Brendan Rodgers needs to try and get either this man in or someone else. Will he manage to do it? He's got 2 wild cards that he can bring in today. It needs to be done before a certain time, or they can't play. And will the players that come in today be able to fit into the squad and be good enough and had everything that Brendan Rodgers talks about? Brendan Rodgers, since last season, has spoken about a good pre-season with Celtic, getting them up to speed. Bringing players in the day before a Champions League qualifier isn't really doing that, Brendan, is it? Anyway, let's check out the Champions League team. Champions League squad as it stands this morning, Tuesday the 19th of August. Will Celtic manage to get 2 wildcard players in today? And there's a bit of talk, and the reason that I'm doing this morning, there's a bit of chat about one Celtic striker that may be leaving Celtic. I don't think that he will. He's in the Champions League squad. I think Celtic will keep him here in the squad and maybe loan him out at the winter window. Anyway, the goalkeepers are Kasper Schmeichel, as you see, Sinisalo, Ross Duhan, which make up the complement of keepers. Alistair Johnson, Jamas Simpson-Puzzi, Liam Scales, Austin Trusty, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Why is Rio Hatate in the defence? That's crazy. They've got Rio Hatate as a defender in the Champions League. Strange one. Dane Murray, Tony Ralston, Stephen Welsh. Now that comes with a caveat, because Stephen Welsh is expected to leave this window. Now if he leaves this window, it means that there will be another Scottish player is brought in. We all know what Scottish player is being looked at by Celtic at the moment. And will he be the one to come in? We'll wait and see. And then there's Kieran Tierney. That makes up the defenders. So the only one that I think that may make the difference from the squad will be Stephen Welsh. Because Stephen Welsh doesn't want to spend the season sitting about on his arse like he has over previous seasons and just make the flight for Champions League games. Because that's all he's done for the last couple of years. And that's why he's got to the stage where he's like, I want to go and play football. He went and played football the second half of last season. He done fairly well, and he now wants to just leave Celtic and go out. We've got the midfielders. Now this is on the this is on UEFA.com. Remember, we've got Yang as the winger. We've got Luke McCowan. You've got Yang as a midfielder, but anyway, that is what it is. You've got Luke McCowan, Arnie Engels, Paulo Bernardo, Callum McGregor, and James Forrest, which sets up your midfield. You're thinking, yep. I don't know why they've got Rio Hatate in defence when he's a midfielder. It's maybe just the way they've got to set up. I don't know. And anyway, the forwards. Now this is where it gets interesting, because there's a lot of news this morning, and it's just speculation by a certain mainstream media rag. Now I've thought maybe Osmond would go out on loan, but he's been added to the Champions League squad. Other players that haven't been added to the squad, you know that they're on their way out the door. Noticeable notees. You can all guess who they are. Benji is in the squad, as you would think. He's classed as a forward, even though Brendan Rodgers has been playing him in the number 8 position beside Callum McGregor as a double pivot, and I think he'll still do that. I still think that he'll line up for that tomorrow night. He'll sit Benji sitting in beside Callum McGregor. That'll allow him the freedom to then make late runs into midfield, into the box, and mix it up a bit. But then when it comes to the defensive duties, he comes back in beside Callum. I think that's a perfect, and I think it's a little bit of genius by Brendan Rodgers playing him in that position. Until we go out and buy someone that is a really good holding midfield player. And then we can put Benji on the wing where he's meant to be. Anyway, Adam Ida. Don't cough too loud. And you can see the ages of the players. Do you know, we'll talk about that in a second. Adam Ida, Shin Yamada, who's still, he's 25-year-old. He's still to prove that he's the next Kyogo Furuhashi or he's the next Daisen Maeda. I mean, all the talk when he came in was he's faster than Daisen, he's better than Kyogo. We've yet to see that yet, Celtic fans. Hopefully we see that in this game. Callum Osmond, now there's the big one, because Callum has been touted for leaving this window. I thought he may have left the window, this window, been put out on loan, but the fact that Brendan Rodgers, when he signed him, says he's here to be in the first team, when they signed him, Brendan Rodgers obviously gave him his word that he was going to be in and around the first team. That's how we managed to pull him away from Fulham. I think that Brendan Rodgers will keep him in and around the first team, use him sparingly throughout the season, and then when it gets to the winter window, they'll say, we're going to put you out on loan just to get you some game time between now and the end of the season, Callum. We've not managed to get you on as many times as we want. We'll get you out, get you up and running, because let's face it, Adam Ida's going to be out the door next summer. Johnny Kenny, going to be an interesting one for Johnny Kenny, who's just signed that new extension contract to 2028. It was it 29? Can't remember. I've just signed a new deal anyway. Johnny Kenny, will he go out on loan? I don't think so, because he's better than Adam Ida at the moment. Now, I still see Adam Ida and Johnny Kenny as number 2 strikers. 2 and 3 strikers. Young Callum Osmond, he's behind both of them, unfortunately. But when it comes to the Champions League squad, you need as big a squad as possible. You need 25 players. And then you've got Daisen Maeda. Hopefully we can keep a hold of him at the end of this window. We're just waiting to see, since the Wissa deal has gone through now, we're just waiting to see if an offer comes in for Daisen. Hopefully it doesn't. But then again, if he performs absolutely the way he can in this Champions League game, Celtic are leaving it late with transfers. And then there's the manager, Brendan Rodgers. Now, when we look at the age of the players, I've obviously got Kasper Schmeichel, who's 38. You've got Sinisalo, who's 23. Ross Doohan's 27, making up the one of the older members of the squad. Alistair Johnson, 26. Jamal Simpson-Puzzi, 19-year-old, coming in from Manchester City. He's back up his best, isn't he? I mean, I still don't understand what this was all about. There's no option to buy. I mean, is it Celtic going down the cheap road just to get a player in to cover a position? If you think we've got Liam Scales, who's 27, Austin Trusty, who's 27, Cameron Carter-Vickers, 27, Rio Hatate, 27, Dane Murray, who's just signed a new deal as well, is 22. And Dane Murray signing that new deal, scoring on... I think Dane Murray is going to be a fantastic player. And the fact that he's only 22, for me, he's going to be a better player than Liam Scales. He's going to be a better player than Austin Trusty in the future. And then you've got Tony Ralston just there to make up the numbers. Ralston's a Celtic legend. He'll be there. He'll be a one-man club. He knows his position in the club. He knows that he's not going to get a game every single week. He knows that he's back up to Alistair Johnston, who's a fantastic player. But you need people like Scales in the team. You know, it doesn't matter what you say about him. He's a rock. He's not the best at times, but he's managed to keep his place in the Scotland team. So you can't knock Tony Ralston. You know, for years he's been a first start in that Scotland squad, even when he's not been playing for Celtic. But he's 26-year-old, sorry. Will he think that his future's away? I don't think so. I don't think he's like Stephen Welsh, who hasn't had as many games as Tony Ralston. Hence the reason that Stephen Welsh is wanting away from Celtic. And then you've got Kieran Tierney, 28-year-old Kieran Tierney, not the captain, but will he be the captain when Callum McGregor retires, even though Callum McGregor's only 32. Yang is only 23. Can Yang improve as a player at 23-year-old? Can we make him better? Can we make him the finished article? Can we turn him into the next Nico Kuhn? It's a big, massive season for Yang, and I think the more game time that he gets over the season, I think we may see an improvement in him. Hopefully. He has to be more consistent than what he is. He can be quite erratic right now. Brendan Rodgers thinks there's a player in there. Can he pull that player out and make it the complete player on the pitch? Luke McCown, another Celtic daft guy in the team. It's what you want. 27-year-old. He knows his position in the team as well. He knows that he keeps on working hard. He can bring a lot of good stuff to the game in the SPFL and the Cup. This is where Luke McCowan needs to be utilised over the course of the season. Give him a run in Cup games. He will make the Champions League squad. He will be able to come on later on in the Champions League squad to see if he can make a difference. But he's just loving the fact that he's at Celtic and he's in the Champions League. Come on, me and you would be loving that too. We would be like, fuck, yes, living the dream. It would be absolutely fantastic. Arnie Engels, is only 21. And the player that gets so much stick, so much more than 27-year-old Cameron Carter-Vickers, 27-year-old Austin Trusty, 27-year-old Liam Scales, the only 21-year-old Arnie Engels gets in the neck from Celtic fans. This is the game where Arnie Engels should start, and this is the game that Arnie Engels should ultimately shine. Don't sing that, take that song at this time of the morning, Bats. Anyway, Paulo Bernardo, 23-year-old. Paulo Bernardo, people are saying, do you know, he should be in the team more? Yes, he should. I don't think he will be sold this window. There's not been anything to say that he will be sold. Been a little bit of speculation, but 23-year-old, I think he's still got time on his hands at Celtic. Callum McGregor, 32, and James Forrest, the cracking age of 34. Coming to the end of their Celtic career as James Forrest, that is his last season at Celtic as a player. Will he be given a position in the back room of Celtic at the end of the season? Celtic should tell him now. Yes, mate, you've got a job for life. You know, it's like you've came through the system. You've gave your whole career to Celtic. You've been a fantastic servant to the club. You're someone that the younger players within the squad will look up to as they're coming through Celtic. You know, he's the Danny McGrain of the current era, if you ask me. He's the guy that should always be in the background, bringing on the younger players, you know, giving them a wee chat to the way that Danny McGrain used to embrace players and do that. Celtic need to do the same with James Forrest. You know, we need people like that at the club. That is what Celtic has always been about. And I think that James Forrest should just be given he shouldn't be given the golden handshake and the watch at the end of the season and say, ta-ta, mate, it was good while it lasted. But no chance. He should be given a job for life at Celtic. Will he want it? Another thing. I don't think James will want to go into management, but I think he's got a fantastic future at Celtic within the youth setup, because that's all you need to do is just see when a kid's wanting away. See when a manager can't convince a kid to stay at Celtic because his agent's giving it that. James, go and hear a word with him. Dunno, just go in the tea room with wee Forrest. Or it'll be old Forrest. And it'll be Forrest Gump. Run, Forrest, run. Fucking James is still getting it up. Fucking still the fastest man in the squad. At 40-year-old James Forrest is right to the front of the queue. Nobody's beating me. Told you, fucking no chance. Anyway, Benji, 24-year-old at Celtic. Aramida, 24. Can he improve as a player this season? Can he become that number one striker that Brendan Rodgers needs, wants and desires? Or is Aramida his best a number two striker? People say you can't have a £9 million striker at Celtic. Well, you can have £9 million strikers, second backup strikers at any other team in the Champions League. Shin Yamada has got a lot of questions to answer at 25-year-old. Callum Osman, 19. One for the future. I do expect him to go out loan in the winter window. Johnny Kenny, 22-year-old, signed a new deal. Dyson Maeda. Well, can we keep hold of him at 27-year-old? Well, only 2 years left on his contract. Tell me in the comments.